Now, let's get to more serious stuff. You wrote a superb piece on the war on our civilization. You note that ours is possibly the first civilization in history that is taught to despise everything that is ours and venerate anything that is not. Tell me what the BBC have done. What have they done in this regard?
Well, Kenneth Clark, Lord Clark, did this extraordinary series, many viewers will know, in the 1960s called Civilisation. It's a 12-part series, and astonishing. It's called Civilisation, A Personal View. And it's an astonishingly erudite and informative and entertaining series in which Clark gives this amazing panorama of the dawn of Western civilization right up to the present, and then gives his own thoughts about that for the first time in the whole series. It's a magnificent work of television. Most people regard it as being, the gold standard in certainly in educational, informative programming. It's being reissued at the moment, and the BBC's done a couple of things. One is it's given effectively trigger warnings, saying that the series betrays attitudes that are of its time, and which is such a banal thing to say. I mean, everything has the attitudes of its time to some extent. What's the point of saying it? And the other thing it did was to commission Murry, the left-wing academic, to do a sort of framing of it beforehand, in which she, among other things, criticized Kenneth Clark's work for being too Eurocentric. And as I pointed out in the Telegraph, this is such an uninsightful and such a banal accusation itself. Of course, somebody from Britain or Europe is likely, first of all, to look at the world through the eyes that they have. I mean, it'd be very strange if Kenneth Clark had done a series called Civilization, which was centered on looking at Chinese culture through the eyes of a Korean. I mean, it's of course there'll be some extent to it. I mean, everybody sort of reflects the culture they're from to some extent. But of course, it's not just that. It's the accusation that anything Eurocentric, Western-centric, is somehow especially bigoted, and as if we'd be better off if we all looked at the world through African eyes or something like that. And of course, it's to forget the fact that one of the remarkable things that Kenneth Clark shows in his series is the way in which Western civilization not just succeeded, but why it succeeded and how it did so, by the skin of our teeth, as he says in one episode. None of it is simply sort of resting on laurels or anything like this. I mean, it just shows such a fantastically inane desire, as I said in that piece once again, to always celebrate something if it's not ours. But if it's ours, you have to denigrate it. If it's Western civilization, you've got to do it down. Celebrate the great mosques, don't celebrate the great cathedrals, and so on.
I do wonder whether other cultures are behaving in this manner. Well, I know the answer. They're not. And it just seems to be suicidally stupid to go down this road. Why would you behave like this? And you also note that the government's own counter-terrorism advisors a few years ago, they had a list of books and television programs that if you owned those, it could be a sign that you were radicalised at some point. And Kenneth Clark's Civilisation was on that list. C.S. Lewis was on that list. And, of course, your books are on that list. And what does that say about the attitudes? And this is a Tory government, and this is their terror experts coming up with this nonsense.
I know. I mean, you put your finger on it there, Rita. I mean, 14 years of Conservative government and that sort of thing still happens. Yes, Lord Clark's Civilisation was on the list of suspicious items that somebody might own. I was very proud to be on the list along with Kenneth Clark, C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien. I think it was, as so often, the banned list was the only list you'd want to be on. But I mean, it's serious because it is a reminder of this fact that that some of these sort of so-called radicalization and counterterrorism sort of experts have drawn a line around our civilization, which is far, far too close in to the heart of the civilization. I mean, if you want to designate somebody a potential Islamic extremist, you better have all your ducks in the row. You better have all of your evidence to hand, and so on. But if you just want to say somebody is a sort of nationalist extremist or something like that, all they got to do is to like have some of the great works, which I'm excluding mine, but I mean some of the great works of literature in the canon. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, Kenneth Clark. The idea that this should be suspicious, no, ownership of such things should be celebrated. This is some of the best thought and creative work that we've produced. And why do we, instead of celebrating it and in fact sort of drawing these suspicious lines around it, why do we not venerate it? Why do we not celebrate it and say to people, if you'd like to be part of this civilization and you want to contribute to it, you're welcome to. It's not just for one group of people, it's for everybody. But no, we can't seem to do that. So we have to do the chest beating, we have to do the self-flagellation, and we have to do the destruction in the end of everything that's best.